Welcome. You are in the lab room. I'm your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 17, National Football League, NFC West, family, business. What happens in the family stays in the family. And this was a huge matchup with huge playoff implications going both ways. This wasn't one of those win and you're in situations, divisional title on the line, and yada, yada, yada. This wasn't Bears, Packers, Eagles, Cowboys, but this was a really huge game in the NFC with huge playoff ramifications. Things had to fall into place for different things to happen, but San Francisco 49ers traveling out to the land of the sun in Arizona to take on the Cardinals, coming off arguably their biggest win in 5 or 6 years. I mean, they haven't seen the likes of the magnitude of the win they got against Seattle a week ago since the days of Kurt Warner, Anquan Bolden, and Larry Fitzgerald and company. That was a huge win last week that set up a situation where if they win, coupled with a New Orleans Saints loss, they could get into the postseason. And they needed some help, and it was a long shot to happen with New Orleans playing a home game against Tampa Bay. But all you can ask for is a chance. And if you are a Dumb and Dumber fan like I am, it's a 1 in a million shot. So you're telling me there's a chance. And that's what the Arizona Cardinals wanted. They just wanted a chance. And so they got that opportunity. And they had no idea what was going on in Arizona, or excuse me, in New Orleans. Both of these games started around the same time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. And so they were playing simultaneously. So as far as they knew, they were playing for their playoff lives against the San Francisco 49ers, tough team in their division, a team that has ruled this division with an ironclad fist for a couple of years now. Since Jim Harbaugh has taken over the reins in San Francisco, this team has been a bully in that division, and the Cardinals have found it very hard to slay that bully. And after beating Seattle in Seattle, they felt like, hey, we're that team in this division. Why not be able to take down the 49ers the very next week at home? If you're San Francisco, hey, win this game. And of course, much like the Cardinals, you need a little bit of outside help. But again, you got to take care of your end of the bargain first by winning. You win this football game, you could potentially end up the number 1 seed in the NFC playoffs. If you don't get the number 1 seed, you could end up the number 2 seed in the NFC playoffs. But you can go from 5 or 6 to 1 or 2, or you could lose this game or win it potentially if Seattle wins as well and still end up 5 or 6. So winning this game would ensure you will finish no worse than 5th seed in the NFC. Lose this game and you could fall down as low as the 6th and final seed in the NFC playoffs. Either way, you're getting into the postseason, whether you win or you lose. But you want to get the highest seed possible so that you get the best draw possible. So if you're the San Francisco 49ers, this game is worth winning because let's say you finish the 5th seed and the Saints win as the 6th seed. You don't have to play Seattle in the divisional round of the postseason. You can save that for the championship game if you were to get there. If you finish the 6th seed and you want to get to the Super Bowl, then you got to play Seattle in the divisional round of the postseason if they're the number 1 seed, if you win in Wild Card Weekend. So right away you would have to deal with that matchup. That's going to be a toughie. You would much rather push that off as far as possible and see if someone else will handle that dirty work for you. So that's the difference between being a 5 seed and a 6 seed, essentially. And again, division still in the balance. You have no idea what's going on out in Seattle, them playing St. Louis at the same time as this game is going on. So again, a lot of things at stake for these two teams in this football game. Should be a dandy. Let's get to the board and break down this huge NFC West matchup between the 11-4 San Francisco 49ers and the 10-5 Arizona Cardinals. And I stated this last week. It's a shame that a 10-win Arizona Cardinals team with the potential to go 11-5 could miss the postseason and probably would miss the postseason. But again, it's all about doing your work early, and the Cardinals left some work and some business unfinished earlier in the season mainly losing to that New Orleans Saints team in New Orleans earlier in the season. Comes back to bite them later on in the year. But let's break this down. Good opening drive by the Niners. Lots of balance, but have to settle for a field goal. It's 3-0 San Francisco. Let's talk about this for a second. It's as if the 49ers made a conscious effort to get the ball to Anquan Boldin early in this game. They said, all right, Quan, you haven't been back in Arizona since you walked away and left for free agency. Wasn't happy with the way they treated you on the way out of the door and went to Baltimore. And so we're going to get you the football early. They threw it to him twice. They ran a reverse with him. The first 3 offensive touches in this game were all to Quan. And it was as if they were trying to send a message to Arizona right away that we're going to get the football to Quan and we're going to allow him to show off in his return home to Arizona. Just try to stop him. And it was a profound statement early on that Quan was going to have a big day. And I think it was understood that he was going to ball out in this game. But even with all of that, they had a beautiful reverse to Quentin Patton. You haven't seen that guy in a while. He's been banged up. He's back in the lineup, out there running around. It was funny. It was awkward seeing number 11 out there. I'm like, number 11? I had to remind myself and have a refresher course on who this guy was because I haven't seen him in a while. Haven't seen him in a long time. But he's fast. He's got some moves. He can do some things. I like Quentin Patton a lot. And he had a reverse on that first possession for a nice gain as well. But with all that said, with all the balance that came with that first drive, still settled for a field goal. And that's the thing that kind of perturbs me, the San Francisco 49ers team, is that they don't always get the ball in the end zone. And again, you're not going to score touchdowns all the time. Got to be able to make sure you get something out of a possession. That's where Phil the Boot comes in to play. But I want to see this team put the ball in the end zone more. Some games that are close with this team that don't have to be is close because they don't score touchdowns. They leave the door ajar. And all it takes sometimes is for the door to be slightly left ajar. You leave that door open. And all the other team needs is to see that crack. And then they push the door open, and then you got yourself a ball game. Sometimes, if you just score touchdowns, you can find yourself putting ball games away. And so, that kind of makes me a little uneasy with this 49ers football team. So, that's the thing that, for me, is a little troubling, a little off-putting with this 49ers football team. So, to see them start this game 3-0, even though the first drive was very impressive, that's how I kind of felt. But it's 3-0 nonetheless. They've done what they needed to do to this point. So Navarro Bowman picks off Carson Palmer at Arizona 22, leads to a Bolden 4-yard touchdown catch. It's 10-0 San Francisco. That's the one thing about this Arizona Cardinals team that makes me so frustrated, is that they've got all the weaponry that they need offensively. One of the better defenses that no one talks about in this league. They're a dangerous and scary team, especially when they're at home. And they went out on the road and proved that this isn't just a home operation. We can take this thing out on the road. And anytime you play the type of defense that they play, you can travel. You can go on the road and you can cause fits to other teams. And the one thing that frustrates you about this Cardinals team is the amount of turnovers. And it seems like they have to turn the football over every week. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. Carson Palmer is going to throw an interception. He's going to turn it over at some point. And that's frustrating because you want to eliminate the turnovers. Those are things that gives points to the opponent. Stop turning the football over. And it's like he can't stop. It's like he has Tourette's syndrome of throwing the football. He has to throw the football to the other team. And he can't help himself. He can't stop himself from turning it over. And you knew at some point he was going to turn it over in this game. I was just glad he got it out of his system early and he didn't do it again. Because if he turned it over one more time in this game and the 49ers had prime field position like they did on this possession, this game was going to get out of control early. But he said, okay, I got my one pick out of my system. I'm done. I don't have to do it again. And Navarro Bowman some of the best set of hands on a defensive player. Forget about defensive backs or, just a linebacker. I don't want to subject him to just the linebacker position. He's got some of the best hands, period, in this league. That's why he was on the hands team on Monday Night Football when the Falcons kicked that onside kick. You want to know why they have a linebacker out there? Because the guy can catch the football. And you saw it on this play. That was a bullet Carson Palmer threw. He didn't soft toss that up there. It's a bullet. He plucked it out of the air, picked it off, gave the 49ers prime field position. They turned it into a touchdown. And that's what good teams do. You force a mistake, you take that mistake, and you cash it in fully. You don't go in and give the bank teller a whole bunch of rolls of pennies and say, I want to cash this in. No, you get a turnover, and you take that big check, and you say, here, I want to cash this check, deposit it into my savings account. And that's what you do when you get a turnover. You take that turnover and you turn it into a touchdown. 49ers did that. It's 10-0. I'll tell you what, I don't like the way this game is starting. If I'm an Arizona Cardinals fan, the start to this game has me worried. Cards finally gained some traction offensively, moving the ball primarily on the ground. But Jay Feely misses a 37-yarder. Look, Jay Feely has been extremely solid for you this year. I don't want this game that he had in this season finale to taint what he's been able to do this season for you. But he did have a rough go of it in this game. I believe he was 2 for 4 in field goal attempts. And if he makes just one of those field goals, you go to overtime. If he makes both of these field goals that he missed in this game, you win the game. You could look at it that way, or you could just say he had an off game. It happens, and you move on because he's been so good for you this season. But to finally get something going offensively, to move the ball down the field and to not have something to show for it, a little disappointing. And again, in a game where you're already trailing by 10 and you're looking for something positive, you really needed him to make that field goal at that time. 49ers capitalize on the missed field goal as Cap hooks up with Quan on a 63-yard catch and run down the sideline to the 3-yard line where Cap finds VD for a 3-yard touchdown catch. You never want VD. You don't want it. You don't want Krabs. You don't want VD. They got VD on this one. And he was wide open in the back of the end zone. Vernon Davis catches the touchdown. It's 17-0. At this point of the game, and I'm a Cardinals apologist. I've been one all season long. I love this team. I would have loved to have seen them get into the dance because I feel like they don't get enough respect. A lot of people don't know this Cardinals football team. It's just a fact of the matter. Teams around the league get a lot of credit and a lot of praise, and when that credit is being given out, the Cardinals are always bypassed. And so I was ready for them to get on the big stage. And what bigger stage than the postseason? You're the only show in town. All eyes on you. They would have had an opportunity to show what it is they've been doing all season long. And Bruce Arians is a wonderful coach. And you're going to get to see all of the things that he had working for him in Arizona. But that didn't come to fruition. However, at this point in the game, I was worried that this was going to get out of control. I mean, it's 17-0. I feel like the 49ers are playing some of their best football of the season. Now, you could argue that, they're still struggling in certain areas. I talk about some of the red zone struggles that they've had this season. And, they may not score as many points as I would like them to, but I feel like they're playing some of their best ball. And you could look at that Atlanta game and say, oh, they gave it up to Atlanta. Atlanta's a really good offense, okay? Yeah, they don't have Julio Jones. They still have Roddy White. They still have Tony Gonzalez. They still got Steven Jackson. That's still a formidable offense in Atlanta, and I think people overlook them because of that record. That's still a solid offense, a really good offense, and 49ers found that out on Monday Night Football, but I feel like the 49ers are playing some of their best football of the season, and they could run away with this game. It's 17-0. It's still in the first quarter, and it's 17-0, and I just feel like Arizona, you got to stand up for yourself. The bully is in your house, and they're really pushing you around. They're really giving you the business right now. You got to stand up for yourself. If you don't take a stance right now, this game could get out of control, and I don't think there's going to be much that you can do about it to stop them from really doing what it is they want to do to you in this football game. You got to stand up for yourself. You got to take a stance. You got to put your foot down and say, not in my house. This isn't going to be a blowout. Hey, we're here, and we're going to make this a ball game. And with 11 minutes left, a little bit over 11 minutes left in the second quarter, they took that stance. They put their foot down defensively. It's 3rd and 1. 49ers are trying to pound the football. They're not having it. They stopped them from getting that first down. And I thought that was a huge stop in this game because if the 49ers pick up that first down, I think they're going to get more points, and this game is going to get out of control and out of reach. But they put their foot down defensively. They got the stop that was necessary. They forced a punt, and they proceeded to go 10 plays, 88 yards, and cap that drive off with a 4th and 1 conversion to Jake Ballard in the back of the end zone for a touchdown, 17-7. They put their foot down, and they made a stance, and they said, not today. Our season isn't ending in a blowout. That's not the Cardinal way. We're not going out like some chumps. And I was so elated to see that. I was refreshed because I thought this game was going to get out of control again. When I look up and it's 17-0 and we're still in the first quarter, and I see the 49ers dominating, I'm like, oh, man, this isn't the way you want this season to end. You didn't come this far to be blown out in the season finale and not give yourself a chance to make it to the postseason. So for them to put their foot down, get the defensive stop, and then go 10 plays, 88 yards, and get in the end zone on 4th and 1, bravo. Bravo. And that's the heart that this Cardinals team has. So now it's all about getting stops and scratching and clawing your way back into this game because, again, 49ers have been scoring points. Let's see what you do. Phil Dawson's streak of 27 consecutive field goals made comes to a halt right before the half as he misses a 24-yard chip shot field goal. And these things happen. He just pushed that one wide left. It's simple. He pushed it. It never hooked back inside, and his streak was over. And it's still 17-7. That was one of those breaks at the time that, frankly, the Cardinals needed. They needed to be able to see the scoreboard still read 17-7 and know that they still have a chance in this game. And Dawson missing that field goal was huge in them feeling like, hey, we're still in this ballgame. Rashard Mendenhall fumble gives the Niners great field position, but the defense stands up again, and the 49ers fail to convert on 4th and 1 from the Card 16, and they end the threat. So Cardinals, in this game, I saw more 4th down attempts than I've seen all season in one game. I mean, these two teams were going after it, and they were trying to put each other out of their misery. I mean, the 49ers wanted to go for the jugular. They were looking for that vein that they could cut and watch the Cardinals bleed out. And they were trying to go and hit that jugular all game long, and the Cardinals just wouldn't let them. They would not let them. It's like they had the knife, and they were trying to hit them, and the Cardinals kept grabbing their hand, and they were wrestling over, if they were going to be able to try to cut them or not, and the Cardinals just weren't going to allow them to cut them. They just weren't going to relent. They weren't going to give in to the bully called the San Francisco 49ers. They wanted this game. They were going to have to beat them up and take this game. And so both teams were going for it. And the Cardinals were like, hey, we got nothing to lose. We got absolutely nothing to lose. Our season ends today if we don't win. We're going for it on 4th down. And that was the mindset that they had in this game. And you'll see that later on. But 49ers went for it on 4th and 1. Could have kicked the field goal. I mean, they were at the 16-yard line. And they said, no, we want a touchdown. We want to end this game. And they didn't pick it up. Cardinals D stays tough, gets the stop. Palmer hooks up with Michael Floyd for a 45-yard gain. It was a big gain in double coverage. He goes up. Palmer gives him an opportunity to win a jump ball, and Floyd goes and climbs the ladder and pulls it down. Great catch over the middle. Sets them up in some great field possession. But they failed on 4th and 6 and gave the ball back to the 49ers. So they went for it on 4th and 6. They said, all right, we're not quite in field goal range, not in punting range. Let's just go for it. They go for it. 4th and 6, don't pick it up. Got to give the ball back to the 49ers. Turnover on down. So, like I said, I've never seen two teams go for it on 4th down as much as I've seen all season long in this game. These two teams, I would venture to say that one team was probably about 3 of 5 or 3 of 6, and the other team might have been 2 or 4. I mean, that's how many. You're talking 8 to 10 4th down attempts in this game. The teams were going after it on 4th down. So Arizona moves the ball and decides to go for it on 4th down again. So you see the theme here. This time picking it up And settling for a 49-yard Jay Feely field goal, he pounds it home 17-10. So I talked about Jay Feely and how well he's done for this Cardinals team all season long. And again, I don't want this game to taint what he has done. This guy's been money for the Cardinals all season long, and he was money on that 49-yarder to cut it to a one-score game. Jay Feely, however, after knocking home the 49-yarder, misses from 43 yards out. And I told you, he was 2 of 4 in this game. So he missed 2 field goals. And those 2 field goals would loom large at the end of the game. But again, it happens. Sometimes you hit it and it just doesn't go through. Doesn't mean he's not a good field goal kicker. He's one of the best in the league. And so he just had a tough day, and he missed from 43 yards out. It's still 17-10, 49ers clinging to a 7-point lead. Cardinals respond by getting a defensive stop, and then Carson Palmer finds Andre Roberts for a 34-yard touchdown strike. We're knotted up at 17 apiece. In this ball game, Cardinals scratch and claw and come all the way back and tie it up with 3 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter of this game. Phil the Boot is money from 56 yards out with about 2 minutes left in this game. Makes it 20-17 with 1:45 left in this ball game. This is why you went out and spent the money on Phil the Boot, because this guy is money. Forget about the 24-yarder he missed at the end of the first half. This guy is the real deal, and you saw it in this game. This was clutch. Okay? How many coaches, after their kicker misses a 24-yarder, is going to send them onto the field at the end of the game in the clutchest of clutch situations for a 56-yard field goal? Mind you, if you miss this field goal, the Cardinals are going to have excellent field position. Not just good, not solid, excellent field position. And he pounds that field goal right through the uprights, 56 yards. That's why you pay him all those bucks, because Phil the Boot is the truth. And so it's 20-17, 49ers up in this game. Cardinals strike back to get the football down the field, get in the field goal range, and Jay Feely from 43 yards this time is money. This game is knotted up at 20 again. And it looks like we're going to overtime as he knocks that field goal through with 29 seconds left. But the Cardinals make a mistake. Special teams allows LaMichael James to get a huge return on the kickoff out to about the 40-yard line. It only eats up 5 seconds of the clock. So with 24 seconds, the 49ers are about at their own 40-yard line with a chance. And they've got a couple of timeouts. So they've got time on their side. They've got a couple of timeouts. They've got a quarterback with a strong arm. They can make some things happen. They get a nice little completion to Anquan Bolden. They call one of their timeouts. They get another great completion down the sideline to Quentin Patton. And it was an excellent throw, an even better catch. They catch it. They call the timeout. They send Phil Dawson out on the field. And Phil the Boot from 40 yards out ends the season of the Arizona Cardinals as the San Francisco 49ers waltz in to Arizona and get a 23-20 victory. It was an excellent game. I love watching NFC West football. I really do, because all the games look like this. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. It's going to be a lot of defense, and it's going to come down to the wire for the most part. And this was no different. And this Cardinals team, let me talk about the Arizona Cardinals for a second. I want to say that they had a magnificent season, first and foremost. To win 10 games and not make it to the postseason, it's a crying shame. I mean, but that's how tough the NFC was this season, okay? There's only one team in the postseason in the NFC that didn't win 10 games, and that's the Packers. Everybody else has at least 10 wins to their name going into the postseason. And like I said, if I could, I'd make the swap out, put the Cardinals in. I just feel like they're a team that nobody wants to play. Nobody in the NFC playoffs wants to see this Cardinals team. Nobody. I'll say that. I'll make that declaration right now. The 49ers knew they were in a battle. They knew that they just took a serious haymaker from a really good team. All right? The 49ers were Buster Douglas in this game, and the Arizona Cardinals were Mike Tyson. And the 49ers took one hellacious uppercut from this Cardinals football team, but they didn't go down. They ended up knocking them out. But I tell you what, this is a dangerous team, and if they continue to build, and Carson Palmer is the quarterback for now, but you need to go into the draft and seek out another quarterback potentially that could take over the reins in the near future. I don't know if you want that guy now or if you want to work with him down the road, but you're going to have to upgrade that position at some point. But Carson Palmer is the answer right now. And this team is talented, and they've got a lot of talented pieces, and they're not going away. They're going to be good for a few more years. As long as Carson Palmer can continue to deliver the football, they're going to be around. And they're only going to get better. And this is a scary bunch. And I think the NFC playoffs all breathed a sigh of relief when these guys didn't get in. Because Seattle knows. They came to our house, smacked us in our mouth, and walked out with a W. This is a tough bunch. San Francisco knows. We dodged a bullet not once, but twice against these guys. They almost got us twice. They almost got us in our house, and they almost got us at their house. We dodged a bullet twice on these guys. The Philadelphia Eagles, they know they dodged a bullet when Arizona came to their house and came knocking on that door. Easily could have walked out of there. I thought it was the worst officiated game I've seen all season. Knew the Arizona Cardinals could have easily walked in and walked out with a W. The New Orleans Saints, they could be the one team that say, hey, we beat those guys up. I mean, we beat them to a pulp. In New Orleans, they had their way with Arizona earlier in the season. That's the one team in the postseason right now that can say, yeah, we beat those guys up. But everybody else, they gave them a run, or they would give them a run. And so, I'll tell you what. Kudos to the Arizona Cardinals and the job Bruce Arians did with this team this year. Because this team was game. And I would have loved to have seen them get into the postseason, get a ticket to the dance, and give them a chance. But it wasn't meant to be. You finished the season up 10-6. And even if you would have won this game, New Orleans took care of business, as we all figured they would. And so you wouldn't have got in anyway. But what a season for this Arizona Cardinals team. And I look forward to watching them in the near future continue to get better and be a really good team in that NFC West division. That's a really good division right there with a lot of good football teams in it. And looking at it from the 49ers perspective, the 49ers took care of business. Again, doesn't always have to be pretty. Don't be pretty. Don't be cute. Be good. And this is a really good San Francisco 49ers team. And you know how it goes. Not always going to be the most aesthetically pleasing. But at the end of the day, when you look up at the scoreboard and you see what team is putting it in the left-hand column, normally it's going to be the San Francisco 49ers. And again, they put another one in the left-hand column. They get it done 23-20, go into the playoffs with a lot of momentum. They're the 5 seed. They got to travel out to Green Bay to take on the Packers with Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be a wonderful football game. I'll be breaking down all of the postseason matchups later on in the week, so look for that. But can't wait. That's a Bart Scott game. Bart Scott! Can't wait. So, yeah, I'm definitely Bart Scott for that. Can't wait. So, that's going to do it for this installment of In the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Got a couple more games to break down in week number 17. Finish line is here. Either you crossed it and you had a ticket in your hand to go to the dance, or you crossed it and it's time for you to start looking forward to the offseason and the draft and all the things that come with not making the postseason. So a couple more games to break down. Help me finish out the 2013 season as I break down week number 17 in the National Football League.